Hey everyone, welcome to another edition of the Bolt City Podcast. It's a live edition. Thanks for joining us today in the middle of the afternoon on April 9th, 2024. If you're unable to catch the show live, we appreciate you checking in after the show's already been up. Again, your opportunity to always put comments on the side or ask questions. We will, though, check all the comments, of course, even the people that aren't able to catch the show live. Because like we do every show, we ask you to push that like button, that thumbs up, and of course, subscribe if you haven't done that already. So again, the thumbs up. There you go, Mario.
Let's
That's why
go.
we keep you around. We'll see you next
Yep.
week, Mario.
You guys.
Good to go. But a lot of Charger football to talk about. It's extremely fun, guys. We're just a little bit more than 2 weeks away to what happens in this draft, and we get some of our questions answered as far as what direction the Chargers are going in with the new general manager, new head coach, to figure out exactly what they see is what is the key to success for the Chargers in their future, and how do you build that foundation. Guys, I tell you what, we're going to start off the show right away with a guest, and Mario was great and said, look, let's get someone that knows everything, not just about the Chargers, but what's going on with this draft, and understand exactly some of the guys that maybe we like, some of the guys we don't like, and maybe put a different perspective on what's really going on out there. So joining us right now, guys, it's Ian Cummings, Pro Football Network, joined us to talk NFL draft, and Ian, really appreciate your time. And I'm going to start off with the first question is we're hearing a ton of rumors. Chargers are going to trade that pick, that they won't stay with number 5. But we're hearing the Chargers are going to trade. They're going to try and build. As far as, is it worth the Chargers' value to stay at 5? Or do you see this draft being deep enough where you would trade back to get multiple picks?
It's a tough conversation to have, right? Because you trade down from 5, you're obviously maybe passing up a chance for a blue chip guy. Like I think Joe Alt, Malik Neighbors, Rome Odunze, those are usually the top options that are kind of on the list at that point. And if you trade down to, like, say, most teams that you're trading down with, you're usually trading down with a QB needy team, right? So Minnesota at 11, Denver at 12, Las Vegas at 13. Maybe the Giants at number 6 are in that conversation too. But, I think most of the teams in the 11, 12, 13 range, they're going to have to sweeten the pot a little more because they got to move up farther. So that might be more enticing for the Chargers, who still have a lot of needs across the board. But then you're passing up all Neighbors or Odunze. So I do think this draft is deep enough where you could warrant making that kind of move, and especially at the primary positions of need for the Chargers. That's the important part here. Offensive tackle, wide receiver, very deep in this class, but you're passing up a blue chip guy like Alt, Odunze, or Neighbors, most likely if you drop to 11, 12, or 13. So I think to answer that question shortly, yes, it is possibly worth it to make that trade down, but those guys at the top are so good. It's not an easy proposition to make. You got to cover all your bases for sure.
How do you think it shakes out between the top 3 receivers that most people see? I'm guessing you probably see it the same way because you mentioned his name. Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., and Rome Odunze. How would you say they're ranked from 1, 2, and 3? And what's the difference from 1 to 3? Is it a big difference? Is it small? How do you see it?
Yeah, so they're pretty evenly spaced out for me personally. I have a Marvin Harrison Jr. number 1, and he's actually my highest graded non-QB, just in general, my prospect at the top of the board. He's my highest graded wide receiver that I've ever evaluated. Now, my sample size is relatively small. I've only been doing this with my grading scale for 3 or 4 years, so don't have a ton of sample size to go off of, but he's legit. MHJ is the real deal, and I think he has the most complete profile out of those 3. Malik Neighbors is my wide receiver 2, my 6th overall prospect. Explosive powder keg, the twitch and the agility after the catch as well, but he's got great tracking ability as well. He's shown he can use throttle control as a route runner. Just really like his 3-level upside. And then Roman Dunze is, I believe, my 8th overall prospect. So the gap between Odunze and Neighbors is a little bit smaller than the gap between those 2 and Harrison on my board anyway. I think Neighbors and Odunze, you could basically list them as 2A and 2B. They're that close. I think it's just, it's around what flavor you want. Do you want that 3-level weapon in Malik Neighbors, or do you want the guy who profiles a little bit more as a wide receiver 1 in Odunze, who's 6'3", 212, has really good size adjusted fluidity, ball tracking ability, body control, really good hands. He's got some rack to him as well, but the route running as well for his size. I think you're getting that X receiver, that more complete outside profile with him. With Neighbors, you're getting that explosive 3-level weapon. So in my opinion, it comes down to what flavor, what type you like personally for your offense. But that's how those 3 kind of stack out, space out for me.
Ian, as someone that lives in Big Ten country, I can assure you that you just made my whole family very, very happy hearing that Marvin Harrison Jr. is that far ahead than Malik Neighbors. But, in this receiver deep class, and that's all you hear, right? And you mentioned earlier, it's so deep. The Chargers are, it's the rumor that they're going to trade back. It's the rumor that they're going to take, a lineman with that first pick. So what is a receiver that maybe in such a talented class is kind of getting overlooked right now that you'd be kind of high on maybe in day 2 or later on in the first round?
Day 2, it's tough because if you're the Chargers later on in the first round, you'd have to trade back into it from 37 probably. So I think if I'll try and provide different options for those kinds of ranges. So if you want to trade back into round 1, guys like Keon Coleman, Xavier Legette would be potential options for me. Ladd McConkey as well. Although the Chargers, after trading away Keenan Allen, they got Quentin Johnston, but the returns weren't very. You're still a little uncertain of what he's going to become, right? So I think you need more size, more reliability. I'm looking for that complete 3-level profile. If I'm the Chargers right now, especially with Justin Herbert, those big-bodied guys who can capitalize on those vertical shots a little more often, I think that's the profile I'm looking for. So trading back into round 1 or early round 2, Coleman and Legette stand out to me as potential options. Jalen Polk from Washington is another one that I like a lot. Jalen Polk to me kind of fits the Puka profile, where he's very alignment versatile. He's very explosive. He's got really strong hands at the catch point, very good instincts. Legette, 6'1", 220, your classic size speed phenom, but he's got some pretty nice route running chops too. I like how he can use blind spot awareness to manipulate DBs and capitalize, and he's got great hands as well. And then Keon Coleman. I mean, everything is well advertised with him, that rack weapon, the alpha at the catch point, right? And I think he's got good route running building blocks too. I think you're still working to flesh out that route tree, but he's got great flexibility at stems, great targeted physicality, and all the upside is there, aside from the vertical speed, which even if he ran a 4.61, I think his 60-yard speed is better than his 40-yard speed. So I think for him, it's mainly the explosiveness and the agility in the short ranges that presents appeal for his profile. So if you're looking for late round 1, early round 2, those 3 names stick out to me. If you want to go farther down for some other sleepers on the board, there's a cluster of wide receivers who are somewhat similar in terms of profiles. Ricky Pearsall, Jermaine Burton, Roman Wilson, who I think would really present that speed, that route running ability, the separation, really strong hands from all 3 of those guys too. So, I mean, there's different archetypes to look at in differing ranges, and that's what makes this wide receiver class so fun. I mean, there's something for everyone at every kind of range. So it's just a matter of how do you want to attack the value board and where do you want to get those guys.
All right, so a lot of talk, as I said, the Chargers are looking at possibly trading. Now, if they trade back, and who would they trade with? I mean, the team that you keep hearing more than anything else is the Minnesota Vikings. And then you're even hearing a possibility of the Raiders or the Broncos inside their own division would be very interesting. The guy that we like, I mean, before everything started, going a little crazy with all the rumors, all 3 of us are Brock Bowers fans. Now, we see Travis Kelce and see what he does with KC. We saw Gronkowski and what he did with the Patriots and Buccaneers. But at the same time, Brock Bowers is our favorite guy. I'm worried that Brock Bowers will be taken at 10 by the Jets. Where do you see Brock Bowers?
Yeah, it's difficult because I could definitely see him going that early. I could also see him falling to the Colts at 15, but we've seen rumors that maybe the Colts are engineering a trade up for him too. So I think Bowers, a talent like that, I was of the mind that anything can happen, especially with a tight end, right? Teams can be a little tricky about positional designations. My stance is that he's not just a tight end. He's a weapon, and you can scheme him touches wherever, right? He can be a rack threat in the short range off motions and schemed touches, but he's great up the seam. He can separate over the middle. He's got strong hands, really good rack ability, explosive vertical threat as well. So checks pretty much every box. So I think with his degree of talent, you're looking at a guy that probably won't fall out of the top 12. I think at a certain point, the Colts would trade up for him. But yeah, you mentioned it. The Jets are a threat too. I think probably 10 to 12 is the floor for him. And if you're the Chargers, right, if you're trying to trade down to 11, the Jets are a serious threat to take him. The only tricky part with the Jets is they do still have a long-term need at tackle. They do still have a need for wide receiver talent as well. They signed Mike Williams, but he's kind of a short-term fix. Garrett Wilson is still there. You could get a receiver as well if you're the Jets, if Odunze or Neighbors is still on the board. So there is that as well. The Jets are kind of a wild card too, because they signed Tyron Smith. They got Tyron Smith. They got a veteran tackle duo, but they could get a young guy too, like Taliesin Fuaga, if they like him a lot, right? So, a lot of options for them. They are threats to take Bowers. I ultimately think 10 to 12 is his floor. So if you're the Chargers, you do risk losing out on him. Aside, same way with Alton, Odunze, and those other guys too.
If you were the Chargers and you wanted to take a tackle with your first pick, would you take the risk of taking somebody like Joe Alt, that's a left tackle, and moving over to right tackle? and we heard he wasn't as comfortable in his pro day doing the right tackle drills, which is understandable. I understand that some people that have done it can do it better than others. Would you take that chance, or would you take a guy like Fuaga that's a right tackle and he can play right tackle? Or is Joe Alt that good, you would take that chance?
I will say Joe Alt is that good. Like he's a top 5 guy on my board personally. Safely my OT1, so I could easily rationalize sticking at 5 and just taking Alt. But at the same time, I think that the other factor is how deep this tackle class is in the first round. You have potentially 8 guys that'll go round 1, and I think on my board I have 5 or 6 guys in the top 25 just alone. You've got Alt, Fashanu, Troy Fatanu from Washington as well, Fuaga, like you said, JC Latham, Amarius Mims, right? So I think if you're the Chargers, you have an opportunity to trade down and still get a right tackle can be very, very good, right? So I think that's where the value proposition comes into play at the tackle spot. If you do have a trade down partner, I think it would be really beneficial to trade down to 11 or so with the Vikings. Let's say you get extra capital, right? You get extra capital to strengthen the roster, and you can still get a guy like Taliese Fuaga or Marius Mims. It's tough because Alt is such a good player. Like I could rationalize it, but for a team that still has a lot of needs long term, I think that's, it's equally acceptable. And I think the talent drop off isn't that large to compensate for the capital that you get.
Now, Ian, we got to tell the truth a little bit here. Josh played at Alabama, so we have a slight Alabama bias, hand up, for being honest. And there's a tackle that I'm just in love with out of this draft, JC Latham. And you do a really great Twitter thread. You call it the Draft Scouting Report Master Thread. Dude, I saw that yesterday, and I spent 3 hours just going through it. I was having a blast. I might have taken something and made it even more fun. I was having a good time. But tell me kind of your thoughts on JC Latham. Tell me, what you kind of think of him as a player, what you kind of think his upside is, and are you obsessed with him as I am? Because I'm ready to, I don't know, give him my 1-bedroom apartment that's not that nice, but I would give it to him if he was a Charger.
Yeah, he's I like him a lot for sure. He's a top 20 guy for me. He started out a little bit higher on my board. The board's moved a little bit, but still in my top 20. 6'6", 330, right? The dude's a powerhouse, right? I mean, you see how he explodes off the line, how he can drive power at contact. He's one of the most imposing blockers in the class. And I think, people get fixated on the run blocking ability, right? Which he's a road grader. He can move guys out of gaps, very good at displacing defensive linemen. But I think one thing that gets overlooked is how good he is in pass protection too. I think there are times where he still opens his torso a little bit, can get off balance when he's getting a little too far back on his skates. But by and large, I really like how clean his pass sets are. And that was even going back to 2022. I mean, this is a guy who's very well leveraged, great knee bend, really good at maintaining synergy while tracking back, really good anchor placement, latching with violence. I just think, really well-rounded player, right? He might not have the range of a guy like, say, Amarius Mims in space, right? Or Taliese Fuaga, right? He might not have the complete balance and recovery athleticism of a guy like Troy Fatanu, but I think a really complete prospect who has that mauling edge, that elite power drive, and is also very sound in pass protection. So he's kind of fallen under the radar a bit with those other guys rising, but still a top 20 guy for me. And I think especially for the Chargers, getting a natural right tackle with multiple years of experience at that spot, I think that can help you hit the ground running, especially we know how much Harbaugh has harped on improving the running game. I think JC Latham not only has the talent to be an impact starter down the road, but he can help you start that transition and that process pretty early on in his career.
All right, help us out with the quarterback situation. I mean, even though the Chargers aren't drafting a quarterback, it is the position that everybody gets most excited about. I'm almost 100% sure Caleb Williams is going number 1. After that, and I am so confused on what has happened over the last couple months, considering there hasn't been a college football game played. I'm a big Jaden Daniels fan. I like what he does. Just amazed me what he was able to do at LSU. Drake May is a guy we heard about forever, and all of a sudden Merrill Hodge comes out and says, you draft Drake May, you're getting fired. He's a coach killer. And then you go through J.J. McCarthy, who is averaging 18 passes a college game, yet all of a sudden everybody wants to trade for him. He's the name. Michael Penix, most accurate passer, yet nobody wants him because he's been injured. And Bo Nix has played in 1 million games, but all of a sudden that's something against him. I'm so confused on what is truth and what my eyes have told me and rumor. Where do you see these quarterbacks stacking up, and where do you see them landing?
Yeah, and I think quarterback is always kind of the magnet for controversy, right? It's always we know that the NFL draft cycle is misinformation season, right? There's a lot of clashing information, conflicting information that's out there, right? And a lot of takes too, a lot of narratives. So it's really hard to parse through it and just get to the root of what each guy brings to the table, right? But I think what you're looking at is a very talented QB group, and Merrill Hodges' comments about May, being a coach killer. We don't know what's going to happen right now. Like, I want to preface with that. We have to remain outcome independent, right? Because these guys could all hit, they could all bust. We don't know what's going to happen. So I think being outcome independent and speaking about what they can do in the right situation is the way to go if you're analyzing the draft. And I look at those top few guys. Caleb Williams is definitely worthy of the number 1 overall pick. And I think at this point, it looks pretty likely that he's going to be the guy, right? We've kind of been assuming it. I think he's definitely worth the pick, the creation ability that he has too. I think the magical moments off script, right, with his change of direction, his arm elasticity and arm talent, but then also competitive toughness. His teammates like him. He's very good in the RPO game as well, very clean mechanics. I don't think there's too much downside there. And I think at the very least, you're getting a guy who can be a top flight starter in the league. So Caleb Williams is near the top of my board. Drake May is right with him. They're essentially tied for me. I know May has been kind of a lightning rod at times, but I'm really big on the talent that's there with him. And I think for such a young QB, still just 21 years old, a lot of high-level QB traits are on tape. I think the mechanics can definitely improve, right? The situational precision and accuracy, there are lapses there. It can be hot and cold. But by and large, I'm looking at a guy who's very athletic, right? First off, 6'4", around 230, runs like Josh Allen in open field. He's got legit speed. He can hurdle guys, right? Which you want to preserve himself a little bit better. The same can be said for Jaden Daniels, but I think Drake May has all of the talent, the athleticism. He's got a rocket arm with really impressive angle freedom too. He can go sidearm. He can elongate his window. And I think also in structure, he can navigate the pocket. He can step up through lanes. He's shown he can anticipate windows over the middle of the field. Really good processing, really good problem solving in adverse situations. So I think a lot of his issues are more young QB things that can be ironed out rather than things that might hamper him and make him a liability at the next level. So I'm a big fan of what Drake May has to offer, the balance of physical talent and operational utility that he already has. Even if some of those release operational traits, right, like mechanics and throwing and accuracy can still improve, you're working with a guy who has NFL level processing and problem solving ability and is an elite talent. So those are my top two. And then I got Jaden Daniels. He's my QB3. JJ's my QB4. I've got Penix as my QB5, but he's close with Bo Nix. I have a top 35 on all of these guys. I think all of them can become solid starters. Landing spot is a big factor, and we see that every single cycle.
So when you do your evaluations, who are a couple guys that you've evaluated and you scratch your head and say, why am I the only guy that thinks this guy is a first, second, third round pick and everybody else has him so low? I refer back to the clip of the Rams drafting Puka Nacua that we've all seen where they know they hit the jackpot. Is there anybody that you see that you've evaluated that, like I said, you think is a first, second, third round pick that people don't see it that way?
I think, and some of these guys people have started to come around to. So some of them it's aged a little in that sense. But Ben Sinnott from Kansas State is one. He was my tight end too at the very start of the cycle. I know a lot of people were talking about Jatavian Sanders from Texas, and yeah, there's a lot of upside there, and we saw it. But I watched Ben Sinnott off a referral from an agent in the summer, and I was watching his tape, and I was like, this guy's really well-rounded. I can't poke holes in his game. Like, he's versatile. He's a high-energy blocker, right? His route running ability, his vast route tree, really good agility and explosion for his size, and really strong hands over the middle, right? Rack ability as well. So I was watching his 2022 tape, and I was like, there's a lot to go off of here. And then he has an even better 2023. He tests very well. I think he has the ability to be kind of that instant impact guy like Sam Laporta was for Detroit in the right situation. I think he has that kind of versatility. I think he has that kind of dynamic ability, both as a rack threat, but then over the middle, really great in the clutch. Just very hard to poke holes in this game. He was my tight end too for a long time. So I'm happy to see people coming around on that. He'll be in my top 50. Max Melton from Rutgers is another one. Right away, you could see the vertical speed and the playmaking ability early on in the cycle. And then the testing numbers came out and you see that quantified and it really helps. But the slot boundary versatility is big with him too. The physicality and support, I think people have started to come around on that one too. I'm trying to think of any others. Jalen Polk from Washington is a big one. He's one that I've been higher on and I continue to be higher on. I just really think the alignment versatility that he has, the flexibility as a route runner, the strong hands. You think about how Puka Nacua won with the Rams. Obviously, he was in a great situation with Sean McVay. McVay knew how to utilize him, but also what were two things that Nacua did time and time again, right? He got open because he's very versatile with his alignments, because they can scheme him into advantageous situations, and he converted it to the catch point with that body control, that hand strength, that precision, that coordination, and all of those things are traits that I think Polk has as well, Jalen Polk from Washington. So I think in the right situation, he can hit the ground running and really be that chess piece for an offense that can help them roll up.
All right, Ian, with the 2024 fifth overall pick, the Los Angeles Chargers select.
If they don't trade,
Okay, if
that's
they
the
don't
key.
trade, yes, if they don't trade.
If they don't trade, I'm gonna go with Malik Neighbors, man.
Beautiful.
I'm gonna go with Malik Neighbors. I think you can get a right tackle on day 2. I know there's a lot of depth in the round 1 group, but you got Roger Rosengarten. I would circle him in round 2 potentially. I think there are a few other guys that could translate well there. It's tough. It's really tough, man. And you could tell I was kind of freezing up. I was like, what do I do here? Like, it's a coin toss, and I could just as easily go Joe Alt, right? But I look at the returns that you got from Quentin Johnston in his first year. And by the way, that was a learning experience for me because I had a pretty high grade on him. But then looking back, the route running translatability, right? A lot of it was upside. And I don't think I accounted for the separation, the refinement as a separator enough, and the hand technique as well, right? So that was a learning moment for me, kind of learning to scrutinize those two things a little more in this class. So I think looking at those returns and looking at what you need to do for that passing attack, Malik Neighbors, man, I think he can be that gravitational force for you. I think he can stretch defenses thin with his vertical speed, but he's that rack threat as well. Just the things that he can do at all 3 levels. It's very appealing. And I think his presence could in turn help Quentin Johnston find a role for himself, right? So I think if you want that symbiotic relationship, I think going wide receiver, I think it's really nice to invest a blue chip talent there. But I could just as easily go Joe Alt. It was a tough choice for me.
Ian, really appreciate the time. That was a lot of fun for us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Again, that's Ian Cummings right there.
Malik Neighbors.
Football Network. Pro Football Network. You heard Ian say it. Malik Neighbors is his pick as well. So again, very exciting right there for us to sit there and being able to ask a lot of questions. One guy I'm going to throw at you. I'm not talking first round. I'm talking. Here's the guy that if he's not with the Chargers after the draft, people are going to go, man, I'm shocked, because I think most people think Blake Corum's going to be a Charger. Okay, at some point, Chargers are going to do what they can to get him. We know, Jim Harbaugh, with all the talk that always cracks me up about Jim has his guys. I don't think Jim's loyal to anybody. I think Jim's loyal to that scoreboard, which I really do appreciate. I'll be honest with you. As a guy that likes to win, and all I care about is the wins. I don't care about anything else. And Christmas gifts. Look, here it is. It's the scoreboard. And is Blake Corum the guy to help you win on that scoreboard? There are a couple things, guys, and be honest with me on this. Is he your guy? And the reason I say, is he your guy? You excited about the possibility of getting him, or are you thinking it's a reach? Because look, he's going to be 24 during the season. 24 years old for a rookie running back. A lot of tread on those tires. Not only that, the tires have a hole in them. He had a torn meniscus in 2022. He had to come back from an injury. Fine, he did a great job. But we know these running backs don't last very long in the NFL. To get someone that's already aged with tread on the tire, that has injuries already, is he your guy that you're willing to pass up maybe your future center or an offensive lineman that you could use in the future for a relationship that everyone thinks Harbaugh has with him, and that's why he's going to become a Charger?
I could go either way. I think Blake Corum is good. I watched him in person in the Rose Bowl against Alabama, and he looked tiny out there, and he's going to look even tinier in the NFL. But he played well in the Rose Bowl, and he continues to play well in all of his college games. I could go without him. 24 is kind of old for a rookie running back, especially a guy like him that didn't take over college football. He was always really good, but he was never the guy that really took over, like a Derrick Henry type. I really think this running back class is weak. Also, I could go without any rookie running backs. If we were to get a placeholder as a veteran and then get a rookie running back next year, I could go either way, like I said. But Blake Corum, to me, is a good player. I wouldn't be upset if we got him. I wouldn't be upset if we passed on him either.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. There's some things that kind of scare me about Corum. One is just 12 of his last 45 rush touchdowns were for more than 5 yards. But, that's not that surprising when you watch him in college. There wasn't a lot of breakout runs where, he ran for 70 yards as a score. It was more if he just wears down defenses because he just keeps on going. The engine on him is unbelievable. But like you said, he's going to be 24 years old as a rookie. And when you're already that age and you're going to take a lot more hits in the NFL and your kind of game is a Nate Diaz fighting style of, yeah, I'm not going to run you over, but by the fourth quarter, I'm the exact same as it was in the first quarter while you're going to be dead tired. I'm fine with that being said, like I'm fine with him on a third day. We get him great. Like you said, Josh, I think we've been blessed with like the past couple back running back classes, especially like last year's obviously was really, really talented. And this year's I think is taking kind of a dip by the receiver class and right tackle class and QB class has kind of stepped up. I'm fine with him in the third round. Sure. If he drops out in the fourth, sure. But I think a second round pick on him, Dave, would be something that'd be a little too high, a little too hot for my taste. If that's a saying. It is now.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think this team has so many holes. Kind of agree with what Josh said there. We all said, hey, getting a rookie running back would be fantastic. It doesn't seem like it's that deep. I'd rather go with, I think, a veteran guy that another team doesn't have a need for, bring him in to be a placeholder. Robert says Blake in the fourth round to me. I don't think he lasts to the fourth round. I don't. But at the same time, the team that grabs him probably doesn't have as many holes as what the Chargers have. I think most people think he would end up with the Chargers. Don't be surprised he ends up with Baltimore either. It wouldn't shock me if he ended up with the Ravens. He's actually from Baltimore, but at the same time, Derrick Henry, how many years does he have left? And say, is he our next guy that we'd possibly use? I want to read this to you guys real quick because I found this interesting. And straight out, I got it from Instagram. Okay, it's from Pick Six. And Josh might have heard me talk about this yesterday, but Mar, I'll give you first shot at it. Since 1990. 59 quarterbacks have been selected in the top 10. Okay, 59. Only 4 of them have made first team All-Pro. Shows you what a miss it is drafting a quarterback that you don't know. Mario, can you name any of those 4 guys since 1990? Manning is one.
Luck probably never got it.
Nope.
Breeze.
Nope.
Shoot.
Breeze wasn't drafted in the top 10 either. But Josh, do you know the answer to this, or did you hear me ask this yesterday?
I heard you ask it. Also know the answer.
Okay.
Mario should get at least 2. Come on.
I was about to say
MVPs.
I don't know why I just blanked so hard. You got me so crossed. Rodgers was in top 10.
No.
Newton. Cam Newton.
That's right. That's correct.
Okay. I want to go so much more. Kyler Murray wasn't one. Not Jared Goff wasn't one, not even in his heyday. Philip Rivers, no. I want to play this game for like 20 minutes, but I know that's probably bad radio.
Who's the best player in the world? Who's the best player in the world?
Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Yep.
But he barely got it, right? He was 10, right?
Yeah, Patrick Mahomes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Burrow. So thank you.
No, your list is Peyton Manning, Matt Ryan, Cam Newton, Patrick Mahomes.
Wow, Matt Ryan, MVP year. Shoot,
yep.
Son of a nutcracker. All right.
Right in your own backyard. There you go. So anyway, it shows you though. I mean, 59 since 1990, and only 4 of them have basically done what they're supposed to do. It's kind of crazy.
Crazy. It is crazy.
Yeah. So the Merrill Hodge thing I want to bring up real quick, because Merrill Hodge, again, former NFL player, used to do a lot of TV. Now nobody will hire him. I mean, basically he's, he admitted he had, concussion problems and maybe the brain's not 100% there. Maybe. Okay. But man, he's gone a little wild during this draft. Like almost like everybody look at me. I'm going to see some crazy things before this draft. And I want people not to forget who I am. But Caleb Williams, remember, he ripped the hell out of him. He's not it. Then he comes out and goes, Drake May's a coach killer, and you're definitely going to get fired if you get him. And he said he's not athletic. And you just heard Ian say it. That Drake May is athletic and Drake May is fast. And if you look at his film against North Carolina State and how bad he was, and his body won't survive in the NFL because he's going to take a tremendous amount of hits, it couldn't have been worse, And you're going, wow, if you have May that high, whether you're the Commanders or you're the Patriots or one of these teams going, he is our guy. To listen to a former NFL player who's had a lot of success say he's a coach killer. If I'm that coach, I would be kind of nervous going, what? You guys drafted the guy that said is going to get me fired? That like that kind of deal. If you take what he says as being gospel. Now, at the same time, what do you think? Because I will say this, going back and talking Charger football just in the last year, Mario was the first guy on this Drake May thing. Like you preached him like crazy, didn't you, Mario? Almost to the point where you said, I think at times he's the best quarterback in the draft. And guess what? Ian didn't disagree with you. Kind of said the same thing, that they're right there. Caleb Williams, Drake May are still the two best quarterbacks in this draft. Would you guys be scared by something a former NFL player, former media person says, or you say, hey, there's a reason why you don't get a paycheck on a weekly basis because what you have to say is irrelevant?
Okay, I'm going to answer this question. First off, Merrill Hodge has predicted a few quarterbacks in the past, namely Johnny Manziel, saying he's going to be a huge bust. He was right about that.
He was.
Just because you played in the league doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. I'll give you two examples. Gilbert Arenas has the worst opinions of anybody in the world.
Yeah.
And Robert Griffin III is horrible. He's the worst. And he actually played quarterback. So just because you played in the league doesn't mean you know what you're talking about. Also, somebody that people never really talk about for having horrible opinions is Shaq. Shaq gives the worst opinions, but he's a great guy. Merrill Hodge, I would take it with a grain of salt. I think you should listen to what he has to say, but just because he says it doesn't mean it's necessarily true. Drake May being compared to Josh Allen, I think that's a great comparison, right? Because with Josh Allen, you get the good and you get the bad. You get the tons of touchdowns, tons of turnovers. Mario watched a lot of UNC football. Does it mean anything to you that he wasn't a winner in college? To me, I think it's a bigger deal than people make it to be. You got to win. It doesn't matter if it's college, high school, NFL. You got to win. You know, if you're throwing for 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but you lose, you still lost, right? I would want the guy that's going to win the games.
No, it's a very good point, and it's something that kind of dings May. And with the Merrill Hodge thing, like you said, great, Josh. Like sometimes obviously like former athletes know a lot, but like you brought up a good example of Gilbert Arenas. Doesn't mean you're smart. Like there's a lot of dumb Kendrick Perkins, another guy. Boy, does he have some dumb takes out there. And
Paul Pierce.
you know, yeah, Paul Pierce. And it's like, are you doing this just to get clicks and then everyone's talking about it? We're talking about it, like people are gonna talk about it. Like, what is the meaning on it? And when it comes to Drake May, I don't think people realize too, like this past year, he lost all of his wide receivers. His number one target wasn't allowed to play in the NCAA until like halfway through the year. And UNC is just not like a talent. That's just a very, I'm a UNC fan. It's a very mid football program. Them going like 8-4, that's a Super Bowl. Like every time I go 8-4 and people like, oh, you lost 4 games, like, dude, that's like, that's great. Like, you know, I'm not living and dying by that. Like, that's pretty good. So, and the thing I wanted to push back on the Hodge of saying like he's a coach killer. I think if you watch a lot of May film, and the thing that you pick up, Dave, right away is like, I never seen a coach killer that is a tough ass kid. Like that guy would take hit after hit after hit, and he just popped right back up and then adjusted his helmet, brought his team together. If that's what a coach killer is, then
what does
a lot
a
of
coach
stuff
killer
just
mean?
doesn't make sense.
What does that mean?
Yeah. Like he just ignores his
Johnny
coach
Manziel's a coach
him.
killer. Johnny Manziel's
But what is that supposed to mean? A coach killer?
Yeah,
a guy's not prepared that continues to make mistakes. In my opinion, that's what it is. I mean, that's basically Johnny Manziel.
Was Johnny Manziel that surprising though, Josh? Like, was that surprising that he was bust? You think?
For me,
I don't
it
think
was.
it was a huge surprise. He got drafted low. I mean, not super low, but he wasn't a top 5 pick.
No, he was drafted in the 20s. But to me, it was a
but the warning
surprise
signs
because just like Josh said, he's won everywhere he's been. When you continue to win, I mean, the big signature win was as a freshman, he went to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama. I mean, that's freaking nuts, you know, going, wow, that's pretty amazing. That doesn't happen, that freshman quarterbacks come walking in to Tuscaloosa and beat Alabama in a national televised game. And he won the Heisman Trophy as a freshman, and he continued to win. You know, he continued to do things in bowl games that you go, what am I watching here? Now, yeah, do you think it's going to translate to the NFL? Not exactly, but at the same time, we're seeing something different. I mean, my opinion, Josh, you tell me if I'm wrong. Patrick Mahomes, to me, is almost what Johnny Manziel was in college. Like, he does things that you go, how the hell, right? All the time. Patrick Mahomes does things on a weekly basis, whether it's throwing left-handed or just completely being accurate, running and throwing into coverage. Like they always say, don't throw across your body back against coverage. And he does it all the time, and he's successful. Johnny Manziel, I thought, was going to be that guy. And again, I'm wrong. I have no problem admitting I was wrong. By the way, Brandon Hannon with the comment of the day on the side with RG3 still has his Christmas tree up. Made me laugh. And he goes, I was like, any guy has his Christmas tree up on April 9th, dude, you're right. I don't trust your opinion. That's funny as hell to me.
Yeah, that is funny. I mean, Johnny Manziel's another guy that I thought was going to be good. I don't think he's going to be a complete bust like he was. Quarterbacks are harder to judge than any position. You just have no idea. Look at Trey Lance, right? Trey Lance is a guy that was going to be a stud. Trey Lance is the third string quarterback on the Cowboys. Like you have no idea what's going to happen with these guys. Drake May could be really good. He could be really bad. Remember Sam Darnold when he came out of USC? So many people were kissing his ass. He was a can't miss quarterback. Josh Rosen, another can't miss quarterback. You have no idea what's going to happen with these players. Patrick Mahomes, I'm calling BS on anybody that says they knew Patrick Mahomes is going to be the MVP.
You're right.
Like you can't tell me you knew a quarterback. Huh?
He didn't win in college. He struggled.
Yeah, he was at Texas Tech. I mean, how are you going to judge a quarterback that played at Texas Tech going against those weak Big 12 defenses? You have no idea how these guys are going to fare in the NFL. It's just really interesting, Mario. The Commanders, to me, are going to make a decision that's going to have everybody say, wow, right? Because if they go Jaden Daniels, a lot of people are going to say, wow. If they go Drake May, we're going to say, wow. They're in the position where they're going to lose no matter who they pick. So Commanders are an interesting team. Obviously, it doesn't really affect the Chargers because they're going to take a quarterback. The team I'd be watching more would be the Patriots and the Cardinals, seeing if they trade those picks or what they do with those picks. But you can't judge a quarterback, man. You have no idea what's going to happen.
And Ian even mentioned it too, like a lot in terms of where you go, right? And if you're Daniels or May, if I was those guys, I would be hands and knees praying that Washington's the spot that grabs me, right? I would not want to go New England. I would want to stay the hell away from New England. That's just not anywhere I'd want to go. You're going to go there, have no one to throw to. You're going there in a new era that still feels like a little bit Belichick era-y over there, where you go to Washington, where you have a guy that went to a Super Bowl and a head coach, and then you have a guy that's a pretty good offensive genius, and then you have Scary Terry to throw to. Like sounds like a lot better spot to me than over there in New England or like even Minnesota. Like if you go down and get Minnesota and you have Justin Jefferson, that's a pretty good best friend to have going into the NFL. But anyways, like you said, not a lot to do with the Chargers, more focused on what the Cardinals and the Patriots do. Dave, I have a question of, let's say the Pats really want Daniels, right? And then the Commanders take Daniels, and they're like, we don't really want May, and we don't really care for JJ. We'll do bridge quarterback year with whoever the hell, and they say we're going to take a wide out at 3. What do you think the Chargers' game plan is from there? Do you think they go straight into? Go ahead. Sorry.
Commanders aren't going to. Okay. Well, Commanders, there's no way they're taking a wideout. I mean, basically, I would come as close as I can to betting my house the Commanders are taking a quarterback. They wouldn't have got rid of Sam Howell if they weren't going to take a quarterback. They don't want that whole quarterback thing with the fan base and teammates going, Sam Howell should be our quarterback. The guy puts up numbers. Why isn't he our quarterback? That's why they got rid of him, dealt him out, so there wouldn't be that controversy. I'll tell you this right now. I think the Commanders are right up there with the worst organization in the NFL. I mean, like right up there with the Panthers. You would think it'd be going in the right direction with new ownership and everything, but the fact that they signed Michael Davis and Austin Eckler, dude, I've lost complete faith in you. Like, dude, you're grabbing the guys that underachieve more than anyone else off this crappy team that won 5 games. Why? I'm sorry, but I've lost complete faith in what the Commanders are doing. And trust me, as someone who hates the Dallas Cowboys, I'm rooting for the Commanders. Like, I just want someone to beat the Cowboys, to be competitive. Kind of really disappointed the direction they're going. They're taking a quarterback. I believe, I think the smart move, honestly, is Jaden Daniels to Washington. I think May ends up with the Patriots. It wouldn't surprise me if the Patriots did make that trade, Mario. Gerard Mayo being the head coach with the Patriots, the way he's talking is, to me, a little bit disrespectful of everything Bill Belichick and what the Patriots organization is. I mean, there are certain organizations to me that are on a different level. Bill Belichick was such a great coach and so successful, they should rename the Lombardi Trophy after him. He has the most of them. They should rename it after him. But to sit there and throw away his old coach and how his way of thinking is what was killing this franchise, maybe. But you know what? The guy's in the sunset right now. Why would you sit there and go after the guy that brought you into the league and brought you onto a staff to take shots? I don't understand a lot of what the Patriots are doing. I don't understand what the Commanders are doing. I don't think those are well-run organizations. Mario, for that helmet that's behind you and you're doing the show from Chicago, if I was a Bears fan, I'd be very excited. I mean, and I always take shots at the Chicago Bears. I'd be very excited about the direction that the Bears are going, because I think the Bears can get their quarterback. I think they can make another trade and get a big-time wide receiver. I mean, imagine if they get Rome Odunze, if they're able, they trade further back up and they grab another wide receiver with the wide receivers they already have. I mean, now you're preparing for life even after Keenan Allen. And now who would have thought that the Chicago Bears are an offensive juggernaut? And then for me, guys, it's Arizona. So you ask the question to what the answer you're looking for, Mario. It's number 4. What happens at number 4 and what's available, I think depends what the Chargers do. If they do what Ian Cummings just said and says, look, Marvin Harrison Jr. is ranked that high for me and that important to me, then he's too good of a player to pass up at number 5. And if he's not there and that's their one guy, then you trade back. I'm to the point, guys, I think I do want them to trade back. I know it's going to hurt to see Neighbors go or Harrison Jr. or anyone else that goes in front of him, whether it's Bowers. But, man, this team has a lot of holes in it. And when it's all said and done, I mean, when it's all said and done, like the weekend drafts are over and we're doing the first show after it's completed and we look at who they got, I think we're going to be more pleased, not looking at round 1, but looking at every round of going, now we're talking. This team really took major steps in fixing the problem.
Yeah, I want to bring up this question by Eddie Ramirez. He says that he heard this scenario that the Vikings get the number 4 pick, Cardinals get Chargers 5th pick and keep number 23, Chargers get 11, and Cardinals 2nd and 3rd round picks. What do you guys think about that? Would you be okay with the Chargers trading back and not getting multiple first-round picks? Would you be okay with the Chargers getting a 2nd and 3rd round pick on top of what they already have? I'm kind of like Dave. I'm more open to the idea of trading back, but I don't know if I'm okay trading back and not having 2 first-round picks, Mario.
Yeah, that part is a little dangerous to me. But that being said, like, Dave's 2nd-round picks, given how high they are, like, are almost first-round picks. You know, like
Exactly.
You can get a lot of first-round talent. So I think that part's like pretty big, where like that, you know, plays in our favor, like that works and goes into Joe and Jim's kind of vision of building more, you know, power, getting more. I'm looking for a word right now. I can't freaking think of right now. I almost cussed. I'm just gonna toss it to you, Dave. I'm done talking for now.
I'm gonna fill it right
works.
here. I don't mind that trade. I don't mind that trade. I'll fill what you do with the answer right there. You can get your wide receiver, get Odunze at 11. I think Bowers is gone at 10. I do think if Bowers is there at 10, the Jets do take him. The Jets are preparing for this 1 year, guys. I mean, let's be honest here. Aaron Rodgers on his last year of his 2-year contract with the Jets. They went and got Mike Williams. They went and got an old left tackle, right? I mean, guy's 100, but he's still outstanding for at least 1 more year. You have Garrett Wilson. The Jets have problems that they can fix. I think the Jets go ahead and they round it out with Brock Bowers and they make a run. Patriots aren't going to compete. People don't think the Bills are going to compete this year. As of right now, it's a division that's there for the Jets if they want it, because you're competing with the Dolphins, who lost a ton. Half their defense they've already lost, right? So for the Chargers, I think with that trade, you get your wide receiver, you get your center, and you get a top cornerback too. I think you get all 3 of those by making that trade right there.
Yeah. What about what Ian said about right tackle being so deep, or tackle in general being so deep? You could end up getting a right tackle in the 2nd or 3rd round. That would be a starter.
So I'm going to turn the question to you. As Mario threw a question to me, I'm going to throw a question to you. Would you rather have that right tackle or rather have that center?
Center.
Center
is so important.
I'd go center too. On this team,
look at Corey Linsley, man. 2 totally different teams. The second Corey Linsley was out. I think center is such a big need. Bradley Bozeman, the Chargers brought him in. He's going to be an upgrade from what we had last year with Will Clapp. But why not get a center to build with Justin Herbert? If you could have a center to build with Justin Herbert and a receiver like Rome Odunze or Malik Neighbors, whoever it is, that's big time. That's how you build the future, and you start over from Keenan Allen and Mike Williams going out the door. There's 2 guys I want to bring up to you, Mario, and I want to hear your opinion, okay? One guy has 3 names: Marquez Valdez Scantling, and the other is Tyler Boyd. Both of those names have been thrown around as Chargers might have shown some interest, might have not. What do you think? Do you want either one of those players?
So Boyd last year still put up 667 yards, even with a terrible quarterback situation that ended last year with the backup, 2 touchdowns. That's not the best. And when I was thinking about this, Josh, I read this and it stood out to me. With the best quarterback we've arguably ever seen, MVS still did not stand out as a number 1 receiver. And in this Chargers offense, he would need
Look
to
at the
be
numbers.
So,
Hold on, I got to read the numbers because I looked at
Yeah.
them before I asked the question, and I had to look twice. So I was like, "There's no way he did this." Sorry for cutting you off, but it's unbelievable.
No, you're
man.
good.
In 16 games, he started 10. He had 21 catches for 315 yards and a touchdown. Dude, with Patrick Mahomes, you just put your jockstrap on, you already have 315 yards. Like, that's unbelievable. That's all he had the whole entire season. You stay the far as you can away from Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He has played with the two best quarterbacks, talent-wise, I'd say, in Aaron Rodgers and Patrick Mahomes, and still isn't like that great, especially last year. Right? You agree with it? We all agree on this. Like, do not go for Marquez Valdez-Scantling. He's not that good. Tyler Boyd, maybe. I could see Tyler Boyd, but Marquez Valdez-Scantling, no shot.
Oh, I'm completely fine with Boyd. I'll take Boyd any day. I'm happy with Boyd. I'll ride home with Boyd. I'll take that. He's not a selfish player either. Like, I'll ride home with that. But the MVS thing, you mentioned it. Rodgers to Mahomes, and you just did like you did nothing. Like, your stock didn't go up. It stayed the same. If anything, maybe went down a little bit. You're a freaking free agent right now. I'm all set on it. And an offense that's gonna be really run heavy too. What the hell is he gonna bring? Speed? All right, he's gonna be speedy, fast, and he's gonna drop the ball. Thanks for nothing.
Thanks for nothing. I'm with you. I look at those two guys, and if you want to compare them to Chargers, MVS is Quentin Johnston, and Tyler Boyd's Josh Palmer. I mean, neither one of those guys are number one. You know, I would take Boyd for sure.
Yeah. Anything else? I saw something else from Jim Harbaugh. I wanted to hear your opinion on this. I'm sure you guys probably seen this, but he rearranged the locker room where it's by numerical order now. Did you guys see that?
Love that.
Okay. It's by numerical order, and on top of their lockers, he put their high school ratings, their star ratings. What do you think about that? You like that? Remind you where you came from, Mario.
I love that. I love
You
that.
love that?
Yeah. Oh my God. Eat that up. First off, that's just very funny that he went through all that work, Dave, to find that. Like, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of guys. But no, I love that. Get him motivation. Like, the Chargers need motivation. That's a chip on the shoulder. That's what we've been missing the past freaking decade. It's chips on the shoulder. Get him on that. Yeah. Tell Joey Bosa, look how ugly you were in high school. I don't know if he was, but just pitch anything.
Okay, look, I don't get the high school ratings, but you guys explain this to me. I mean, I understand what high school ratings are, but like, shouldn't it be? I look at my rating and I'm still angry to go, hey, my rating wasn't high. I mean, look, Bosa's going to be a 5-star. Like, Bosa was great coming out. You know what I mean? Like, dude, I'm still great. I don't need to do anything today. Like, how do you get the most out of Bosa by putting his high school rating? No offense to Bradley Bozeman, who's buddies with Josh. He's going to have a 5-star too. He's not even a starter on this team. What the hell? I don't understand this high school rating thing.
Let's try to motivate you to say, like,
motivate me for what? I got straight A's. That's my report card from high school. Those are all A pluses.
But there's someone above you. There's someone above you. Like, there's someone above Bosa. There was someone above, people.
I tell you what, put their Pro Football Focus ratings on there. You want to motivate these guys? They're all pretty disappointing.
Players in the NFL don't really believe in PFF. Like the Madden ratings, they really don't care.
I don't either.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what? I think honestly they care more about their Madden rating. If you put their Madden rating on there, I think that's
true though.
Up. Especially
that
wide
is
receivers.
True. Yeah,
wide receivers
they'll
hate
get fired
that Madden rating. Yeah, I think you put their Madden rating, I think that would fire you up.
What do you think Khalil Mack was ranked?
Oh, he was really low. He was really low.
Got an NR, not ranked.
Well, great. Well, great. He's the one guy we don't need to motivate. Like, he gets out of the car and punches you in the face. Yeah.
I'm all into this now. What was Quentin Johnston ranked? Come on.
I bet he was high because he's fast. I bet he was
3-star, I bet he was a 3-star.
I'm going with Mario. I think 3-star too. Let's see. I don't know, man. Quentin Johnston to me is okay. Yeah, he was a number 113 nationally, number 18 receiver in the nation, number 17 player in Texas. 95.
I bet
they don't a 4-star. He was a 4-star.
Yeah, great.
I bet Jim Harbaugh for Bosa just put like Bolt City podcast and just put like us right there. It's just us smiling.
Dave's face on his locker. Just to motivate
it's Dave's face. Yeah. It's Dave's hat. He got like Dave the hat. He put the hat in his locker.
Dude, I would love to be motivation for them to play part of the show in right there in front of Joey.
Oh, yeah.
I would love it. If we got the most out of Joey because he hated me, that's fantastic. Good deal.
Yeah.
Good deal.
Herbert
Mark,
was
I
a
gotta ask you,
3-star, by the way.
who was Herbert?
Herbert was 3-star.
I gotta ask you, Mara, that behind you, where everyone always complains about your Bears helmet, your Mike Ditka autographed helmet that people don't realize is a family gift to you. By the
Yeah.
way, is that a tiny helmet or a big helmet?
It's a big helmet. It's pretty
It
big.
looks tiny. It looks like you got that little desk one
does.
as a paperweight.
Dude, it did that, like the how big in that in real life versus the shot's actually pretty insane.
Throw it on,
Yeah.
dude. All right. Now my question though is it's the underneath it. Is that a Charger flag underneath it?
It is. People were
Good
giving
for
me
you.
flack, so I got the Chargers American flag. So it was the cheapest one on Amazon.
Good for you.
So it
Good
was
for you.
Yeah.
People say all the time, when's Mark going to throw some Charger stuff back there? So I'm glad you did it.
Yeah, and like first off, shout out to the people that have been with us since the hashtag beginning. Like I had 3 Chargers pushers behind me when we first started. So go back on YouTube, numbnuts, and do your freaking research before you start to come at the freaking king.
Is there a hashtag at the beginning? Or you just create it?
No, yeah, I don't know. Sure, it's famous on TikTok. Maybe.
That's too damn funny. You want to read some of these comments, Josh? Do you want to get to?
Do we have comments we're going to get to?
It's up to you. What
I'm going to read. I'm just going to harp on something because
I kind of like the fact that the comments that people are arguing with each other.
Yeah, I mean,
I love
yeah.
that.
Now people just
They've
start
been
yelling at
arguing.
each other like we aren't even here.
Here's your weekly reminder that we're not sleeping on QJ. We just are calling it like it is. Do we think he could do a lot better next year? Yes. He can't do a lot worse. So, I mean, I hope he does well. I'm a Charger fan. Of course, I want to see Quentin Johnston do well. But for us to ignore that he wasn't the player that he was drafted to be, yeah, we have to bring it up. I mean, we can't just act like it didn't happen.
QJ is that guy from the movie Saving Sarah Marshall when he's Paul Rudd teaching him how to surf. You know, you're doing too much. You aren't doing anything. You aren't doing anything. You're just laying there. That's QJ right now. I mean, come on. It can't get worse than what it was last year. I hope it bothers him to the point of, hey, I'm motivated to show I wasn't a bust, right? Nobody wants to be that bust
Has
pick.
to.
You can't
I
go
think-
back to your hometown and say, weren't you in the NFL? Yeah, I was. Where were you drafted? First round.
I feel like too, if like his agent's got to be telling him, "Hey, new boss is in town. You got to show him." Like that's got to be an angle, right? Like the new sheriff's in town. These guys didn't draft you. You know, these guys' careers aren't, have a lot to do with you. Like they could just let you go like that, and you're gone.
Let's put some blame on the Chargers coaching staff as two last year, having run with the 3s.
Yeah.
Doesn't make any sense. You're not going to help the guy out by not putting him with the real quarterback and the real offense. I mean, that's totally a Brandon Staley and coaching staff issue last year.
If you were QJ, I'll just tell you what I would do. If I was QJ, I literally would be at the facility 5 days a week, even during the off season. Like, there's no point in going back to Texas. There's nothing there for me. I would be in the facility 5 days a week, and I would show everybody how serious I am. And not just to see my face, but you're going to see me out there with that jugs machine catching footballs over and over and over again. And anyone who wants to throw it to me, I'll run routes. But you're going to see I'm there, and I'm going to learn this position the best I can. He knows he's disappointed. He knows the guys who were drafted around him that did extremely well. He knows Puka, who's in his own town and shares a stadium with him, did extremely well. If I was him, I just wouldn't go home, basically. I would dedicate myself to being the best I could be. All those stories you hear about, like guys like Walter Payton and Jerry Rice, the way they used to work in the offseason, I'd be that guy. I would not want to say, you know what, I gave it a shot in the NFL and it ended really fast because of my effort.
Do we know if Quentin Johnston was at OTAs? People in the comments are saying they don't believe he was there. Do you guys know about that?
I'm trying to double check as we talk.
Yeah, try and double check that. Let me tell you something. If he wasn't there, I'm obviously we're all thinking the same thing, right?
Dude, if he's not at OTAs, I will rip the crap out of him on the show.
I mean, then I've given
more
up
than
on
we
him
already have
right now. Yeah, I mean, if you thought I gave up on him before, I have nothing positive to say about this guy at all. Like, bye. You're bad for the team. You're bad for the locker room. If he was not there,
he's not very smart. If he didn't show up, I got a question for you, Dave. It comes from Jack Agnew. He says, "What's a good season for Joey Bosa?"
That's a good question. Good season for Joey Bosa is at least 12 sacks.
That's what I was thinking.
At Do I think 12 sacks is worth, whatever, 30 something $million? Or you took a pay cut. No, at least 12 sacks. I mean, it's not asking a lot. It's asking to basically show up and do your job 12 times out of 17 weeks. I'm not, as much as the sacks are important, I told you I'm a big quarterback pressure guy. I'm more of a fan of the way Max Crosby plays, where every single play, number 98's coming after you. You have to be aware. There aren't too many guys in NFL history where the quarterback goes to the line or gets ready to take a snap, I should say, because everything's a shotgun, to go, where's that one guy? Lawrence Taylor was that guy. Reggie White was that guy. Aaron Donald was that guy. Max Crosby's that guy. I would love for Joey Bosa to be the guy when people get ready to take on the Chargers of going, I need to know where 97 is every single play before the play starts.
In every single game, right? Just play.
Every single game.
Be on the field, man. Be available to your team and be a leader, for God's sakes.
Yep.
Put down the Raisin brand. Yeah, put down the Raisin brand and grab a helmet. All right, and get on the field and be on the field for third down. I mean, that's the money down. You got to be on the field for third down. How many times have we seen in Joey Bosa's career, hey, coach, take me out. I got to sub somebody else in. No, dude, we're not subbing anybody else in. It's third down. Go get the quarterback. That's what you're here to do. Play in the games and get the sacks, man. Just do your job.
Yep. Mario said, I saw your note, Mario. Mario, just to let the audience know, you can't find, confirm or deny if he was at camp or not. But here's the deal. If he wasn't, I think it would be a giant story right now, unless we're missing it. We can't seem to find it. Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. I think also, too, just going back to Bosa real quick, I would say, like, you guys mentioned it, the first and foremost, health, man. Like, I think it's just got to be health. We got to get through that. Like, if he can't play, 60% of games this upcoming year, then it doesn't matter how he plays. You just got to get him out. Like, that's just not 60? A good relationship. You know what I'm saying? 60%. I mean, it's a little bar.
How about like 80, 90%?
Yeah.
Like, you got to play, dude. Like, this is
got to play.
Yeah. I don't know, man. It has to be a little bit better. All right. So we're going to be back. We're going to be back on Thursday, 1:00, right? Same thing, Pacific time, 1:00 Pacific time, talking more Charger football. Have an idea. We'll get the QJ story for you. Sorry, we didn't get it in a timely manner, but we'll do the research on it and see exactly. I didn't even think for a second that he wouldn't be involved. That'd be extremely frustrating. I would say we're going to come back into an emergency.
He was there last week.
We aren't. Okay, good. That's fantastic.
My source inside the building.
Oh, good.
Fernando Ramirez.
Yeah. All right, so we're back on Thursday, 1:00 Pacific time. Again, talking more Charger football. Again, our thanks to Ian Cummings right there, Pro Football Network. That was a lot of fun talking to him, and basically a bunch of different questions, not just with the Chargers, but other teams as well. Guys, come Thursday, we're 2 weeks away from the draft, and then we get the answers to all the questions that we've had. So can't wait. Very excited about it. Again, if you have not liked the show yet, you're listening right now, please give the thumbs up. We appreciate it. Subscribe as well. You're listening to the Bolt City podcast through the Odyssey app. That's great. YouTube, though, if you didn't catch the show live, you want to leave a comment, we do go back and read every single one of those. So we're all good. So again, for Mario Heron, Josh Pele, I'm Dave Pele. We'll see you in a couple days.